The Ring of Memory. Once there lived a king named Vishwamitra who gave up everything to become a sage and went into meditation in a forest for several years. Lord Indra, the king of the gods, was afraid that the powerful sage's penance would be a threat to his throne. So he sent his most beautiful celestial dancer, Menaka, to distract Vishwamitra. Menka came down from the heavens and tried to distract the sage. After a lot of effort on her part, Vishwamitra opened his eyes. The moment he laid eyes on Menaka, the sage forgot his meditation and fell in love with her. The couple lived for a while until they had a baby girl. Vishwamitra could not take his eyes off the cherubic. She reminded him of his purpose, and he realized to his great dismay that he had completely forgotten about his penance. Instead, he had become the father of a child. Angry and upset, he said to Menaka, I understand now what has happened here. You are the one who diverted my attention from my purpose. From this day on, it is your sole responsibility to look after this baby. Don't ever approach me again. If you do, I will curse you in such a manner that you will regret the day you came looking for me. Without another look at the newborn, Vishwamitra stormed out of their home, never to return. Menka was distraught. What am I to do? She thought. I cannot take my baby back to Lord Indra's court in the heavens. Humans are not allowed there. Weeping, she prayed fervently to the gods above and the creatures in the forest. Finally, she placed the baby on the plantain leaf under a shady tree and said to her, My dear child, please forgive me. I am helpless. I was commanded to distract Vishwamitra, and now that he is no longer with me, I must go back. I leave you here with a prayer, and I request these animals and birds to look after you. I promise you that whenever you are in trouble, I will come down from the heavens to help you. With tears and desperation in her eyes, Menka went back to Indra's court. For a few hours, the baby girl lay there with only some birds for company, who kept her entertained. The sound of her laughter reached the ears of the sage Kanva, who was on his way to a river nearby. He followed the sound to its source, the baby girl surrounded by birds who were making her laugh. Sage Kanva looked around for her parents, but there was absolutely no sign of human life. He finally sat down and meditated until he realized through his yogic powers that the baby had been abandoned. He picked up the baby in his arms. Oh, my dear child, he said, I am a hermit, but I will bring you up like my very own. Since you are surrounded by these delightful Shakuntas who have kept you cheerful, I will call you Shakuntala. Shakuntala grew up to be a beautiful woman in Sage Kanva's ashram. She formed a close friendship with two girls named Anusuya and Priya Madhvada. Gautami. another hermit in the ashram, played a huge role in raising Shakuntala. Young Shakuntala was very fond of the animals and the birds and the trees in the ashram, and content with her life there. One day, Sage Kanwa had to go away from the ashram for a few months. Meanwhile, Shakuntala got busy tending to the garden and watering the trees and plants. After some time, she heard a voice saying, "I'm thirsty. Will you please give me some water?" She turned around to find herself face to face with a handsome young man who was none other than Dushyanta, a descendant of the Kurus from the lunar dynasty and the king of Hastinapur. Dushyanta had heard that the forests near the ashram were full of wild animals that were constantly attacking his people. So he had taken it upon himself to hunt those creatures down. Dushyanta and Shakuntala were instantly drawn to each other. She shyly poured him some water while he stood staring at her face, struck by her beauty and grace. Taking advantage of Sage Kanwa's absence, the king began visiting the ashram every day on the pretense of taking a break from his search for the wild animals. Weeks passed, and the couple finally got married in a simple ceremony without the consent of their families. Soon after the wedding, Dushyanta had to go back to the capital. Shakuntala was heartbroken. Dushyanta consoled her, saying, "Dear wife, take this ring as a reminder of my love. I promise to send word to your father as soon as I reach Hastinapur. I must ask for this permission before taking you back with me." Shakuntala calmed down a little and agreed. She wore the slightly loose ring on her finger and looked at her husband with trust and confidence. Dushyanta became busy with matters of the state as soon as he reached the capital, so he decided to put off sending word to Shakuntala's father until he had more time on his hands. Meanwhile, Shakuntala found that she was pregnant. When Sage Kanwa came back to the ashram, he learned of everything that had happened. Though I have raised Shakuntala as my daughter, she has chosen to marry a king, not a sage. But I know that she will make an elegant queen, he thought. He said to his daughter, "Let's not wait to hear from Dushyanta. It is time for you to go to your husband's home." Though Shakuntala was delighted at the thought of reuniting with her husband, she was also very nervous about the life ahead of her. "I have never gone out of the ashram or the forest. I have never even seen a city. I only know my dear foster father and my husband. I wonder if I can live or adjust to the life in the capital," she thought fretfully. While she was lost in her thoughts, Durvasa, a sage infamous for his short temper, entered the ashram to meet Sage Kanwa. Shakuntala was so distracted by her worries and apprehensions that she forgot her duties as a host and did not offer so much as a greeting to the sage. Durvasa was livid at this presumed blatant lack of respect. He poured a little water from his kamandalu into his palm and sprinkled it on the young woman and said, "Oh Shakuntala, You forgot your responsibility as a host because you were clearly thinking of someone else. The person in your thoughts will have no recollection of you from this moment on. Poor Shakuntala barely registered his words. Her friends, who had just entered the room, heard the terrible curse and immediately fell at Durvasa's feet. O revered sage, we urge you to take back your curse. They pleaded. Shakuntala is as naive as a newborn. She is going through difficult times, so she is consumed by her worries. We have never known her to hurt people even unintentionally. Please hear us. We ask for forgiveness on her behalf. Durvasa calmed down. I can't undo the curse, he said. However, I can give you a remedy. If Shakuntala possesses a material item of the person she was thinking about, then that person will remember her as soon as he or she sees the item. Shakuntala was still in a daze and remained unaware of the curse and the gravity of the situation. Soon it was time for Shakuntala to depart. Her friends warned her, Don't forget to carry the ring. Be careful, Shakuntala. Don't lose it, no matter what happens. Shakuntala nodded distractedly and along with Gautami and a few sages left the ashram. She looked back at her home with a heavy heart. The troop left the forest and took a boat across the river Ganga to reach Hastinapur. As usual, Shakuntala started thinking of Dushanta. While absent-mindedly dipping her hand in the water, as the ring was slightly loose, it slipped from her finger and fell into the river and was swallowed by a fish. Shakuntala, however, did not even realize that she had lost the ring. After a long journey, the troop finally reached the royal court, where Dushanta was busy with matters of the court. When they finally got a chance, Gautami addressed him. O king, I present to you this beautiful maiden, the daughter of sage Kanva. You met her in his ashram and married her. She is now with child. It was our duty to bring her to her marital home. Our Guru sends his regards and requests you to look after his daughter like a delicate flower. Since our work is now complete, we would like to take your leave and return to the ashram. Of course, because of Durvasa's curse, King Dushanta could not recollect Shakuntala. He felt that he had seen her somewhere, but knew her somehow. But he was not ready to accept her as his wife. Revered ones, he said gently, I respect your Guru's sentiments. However, I don't recall meeting this maiden before. So how could I have married her? She may have mistaken me for someone who looks like me. I am a king, after all, and my wedding must take place in front of witnesses. Believe me, I don't know this young woman. Shakuntala was shocked by the king's response. In tears, she said, O king, it was you who married me. I know that I don't come from royalty, but I am not a liar. I am the daughter of a sage, and money does not have any meaning for me. Values and virtues are the only wealth I possess. I married you because I loved you, and not because I wanted to become a queen. O king, hear me out. Listen to the memories of our time together. I'm sure that you will be able to remember it all. Shakuntala went on to share a few incidents, trying her best to remind her husband of their past, but alas, it was of no use. Finally, the king said, "Look, do you have any kind of actual proof? I am unable to recollect anything from your stories." Suddenly, Shakuntala remembered the ring that he had given her. "Of course," she cried out, "I can show you one thing." She stretched out her hand in front of the king and said, "You gave me this ring." But when she looked at it, she realized to her horror that the ring was lost. "Oh my God, it is gone." The king awaited. Shakuntala searched desperately for the ring but could not find it anywhere in her belonging. Gautami asked worriedly, "Where did you leave it?" Shakuntala, "I had it when we were in the boat, but I don't remember anything clearly now." Shakuntala replied with sadness in her voice and tears in her eyes. The people in the court began snickering and laughing at her. Helpless Shakuntala left the court in silence. Dushyanta, though convinced that he had not met Shakuntala before, was still left with a terrible sense of despondency. Gautami and the other sages decided to return to the ashram, but Shakuntala insisted on staying back in the city. When she was finally alone, Shakuntala remembered her mother who had abandoned her in the forest. She cried out, "Oh mother, look what fate has done to me. My parents left me when I was born, and now my husband refuses to recognize me so soon after our marriage. I am pregnant and I don't want to go back to my father's home in disgrace. You are the only one who can help me." True to her promise, Menka came down from the heavens and took Shakuntala to Sage Marichi's ashram, where Shakuntala gave birth to a healthy baby boy and named him Bharata. A few days later, a soldier came to Dushyanta and said, "Sir, the local market is in chaos after we arrested a fisherman." "Why? What did he do?" asked Dushyanta. "He was trying to sell a royal ring in the local market. We identify it as yours and arrested him." "Bring the fisherman to me," the king ordered. When the fisherman was brought to the king, it was evident that he was scared out of his wits. In a shaky voice, the man said, "Sir, I'm just a poor fisherman. When I put the net out today, I caught a big fish. Pleased with my find, I asked to my wife to cook the fish and make us something special. But when she cut it, she found a huge ring inside the stomach. I thought that the quickest way for me to make some money would be to sell it in the market. While I was at the shop, a few of our soldiers arrested me. I don't know anything about this ring other than where I got it from. I had no idea that a simple fish could bring so much trouble. Please let me go, sir. I'm telling you the truth." The ring was handed over the king. The moment he saw it, he remembered everything about Shakuntala. It was the ring that he had given his wife. He recalled her tear-streaked face and how he had mercilessly sent her away. She was pregnant with his child, but he had not cared a bit. Instead, he had allowed the people in his court to humiliate her. Overcome with remorse, Dushyanta rewarded the fisherman and instructed his soldiers to find Shakuntala. They searched every nook and corner of the kingdom but could not locate her. Meanwhile, Bharata was growing up quickly under Shakuntala's care. He was a plucky young boy whose playmates were wild animals. Years rolled by. One day, Indra requested Dushyanta to help him in a war against the Asuras. Dushyanta agreed and managed to defeat the Asuras. On his way back from Indra's abode, he stopped to take rest at sage Marichi's ashram. There, he saw a wonderful sight. A young boy was fearlessly playing with a lion cub and forcing its mouth open so he could count its teeth. Such a brave child. His parents are fortunate to have him as their son, thought King Dushyanta. It would be wonderful to have an heir like him to take my dynasty forward. The king looked around and noticed a strange armlet on the ground. He picked it up and asked the boy, "Is this yours?" "Yes." "It must have fallen down." Suddenly a maid came running to Dushyanta saying, "Please don't touch it, sir. It is dangerous." "Why? What is so dangerous about this black thread?" "Our Guru Marichi has powered the armlet with a special mantra to protect this boy, Bharat. If anyone other than his parents or Guru touch the armlet, it will turn into a snake and bite the person holding it. Please drop it immediately," she said, panic stricken. King Dushyanta only smiled and held on to the armlet. Hearing the loud voices, Shakuntala came out of the ashram to see what was going on. When she saw Dushyanta, she stopped in her tracks and stared at him in disbelief. Dushyanta looked back at her. Overpowered by guilt, Shakuntala had been kind and loving to him, and he had been nothing but cruel to her. The young maiden he had fallen in love with had turned into a mature single mother now. Her once innocent eyes now shone with wisdom and intelligence. He begged Shakuntala for forgiveness. But by now Shakuntala had understood the reason for the turn of events. It was not Dusyanta's fault that he had not recognized her. So she consoled her husband, saying, "There is nothing to forgive. Life's journey is filled with both good and bad. Some things are beyond our control. It was our destiny that we had to live this way." King Dushyanta went straight to Sage Marichi, sought permission to take his family home, and finally brought Shakuntala and Bharata back to Hastinapur. Bharata grew up to be a great ruler and conquered lands all over India. In time, he came to be known as Bharata Chakravarti or Bharata Sarvabhuma. He performed many yagnas such as the Ashwamedha Yagna, the Rajasuya Yagna, the Vajapeya Yagna, and the Vishwajit Yaga.